Hey guys, what's up? My name's Jared.
And I'm Megan.
And this is our van. Oh, there, Max.
Aww.
One of the areas that I'm most proud of is the garage space. I mean, can you see me getting rained on? Handlebars of the mountain bike and hook right in here. It's pouring rain. This sucks.
So even though our pillows are facing this way, we just do that so that we can see out the back.
Oh no.
Our lights just went off.
I think our battery just died.
That sucks.
Good. This thing is cursed. Hey guys, my name's Jared.
I'm Megan, and this is Max.
And this is our van.
So I work as a speech pathologist in the public schools, and Jared works in higher education, and so I get the summers off and he gets a lot of vacation time when it comes to summer. And so we've been looking into wanting to get a conversion van for a while now, and then we finally made the decision to start saving up, and then we went and ended up buying the van.
So we searched around quite a bit to find the van that we ended up settling on. It's a 2019 Ram ProMaster. We had been scouring car gurus for a couple months, and we ended up finding this van in Columbus, Ohio, which is about a 3.5-ish hour drive from where we live in West Virginia. And so we ended up making the drive on December 31st, drove all the way out there. It was in a snowstorm, and we picked up the van, gave it a test drive, and then started heading home.
So we got this van with the intentions of using it for weekend camping trips. We know lots of people use them for long excursions or to live in, and unless things go horribly wrong, we don't plan on living in our van anytime soon. And so we just fitted it out for those Friday, Saturday, Sundays out camping, hiking, biking, and so that's where our plan all started.
And so like Meg said, you know, we wanted this van to be something we could just already have our gear stored in here, go out and just enjoy the landscape. So when we sat down to design this build, those were kind of the key things that we needed to make sure we had. One was storage for mountain bikes. Two was storage for our kayaks. We have two 8.5-foot long kayaks, which if you look at the van, the cargo space is only 12 feet long, so we really had to get a little clever in how we hid and held those in place. And lastly was storage to hold me. I'm a bigger guy, and so with that, the bed sleeping situation has to be a little bit different than what you find in most traditional vans. You know, if you're anywhere below 6'2", you have a lot more options. When you're closer to 7 feet, you got to get creative. So like I said, those were our main goals: store the gear and store myself in here comfortably and safely.
We've always enjoyed watching the tiny homes and the van life videos on YouTube, and so the concept of a van that we could travel in was always something that we had on our radar, but we did not have any construction experience at all when we officially decided that we wanted to buy a van and convert it. We didn't even own a power tool, and so Jared is very smart and can teach himself anything if there's a YouTube video on it, and that really shown to be true with our van.
So yeah, we did this whole thing as a self-conversion, along with the help of some friends. We did all of the interior, you know, all of the wood crafting, everything except for electrical. We did hire out for that, just because, again, not a lot of experience. With electrical, you can either ruin really expensive parts, or you can like hurt yourself or burn the van down. So we decided to go with someone professional in that route. But yeah, everything in here, it was just a whole learning experience. You know, funny enough, we were able to get probably about 95% of this entire build done with just a circular saw, a jigsaw, and we had an impact driver. And I mean, everything in here, with the exception of a few of the larger cuts in with the cabinet, which we used a miter saw and one of my buddies' help. But everything else was all used on, I mean, pawn shop tools And I mean, very limited tools at that. So I'm super proud of how this came together. You know, there's some like imperfections, but to us, like, it's our van, it's perfect the way it is, and it's perfect because I don't think I can do any better in some of the areas. I'm sure, like, you know, after we built this whole thing, we did learn so much, so there's things that we would do different, but overall, I'm super happy with this build, and I've been really enjoying getting to use it. So the van that we ended up getting is a 2019 Ram ProMaster. We bought it, obviously used. It was a fleet vehicle before we had it, and it had just at 20,000 miles on it. When we started the build off, one of the first things we did was insulate it, and for insulation, we used 2 1-inch polyiso boards around the floors, the walls, and then we used 3/4-inch polyiso on the ceiling just to save a little bit of height space. I still have to duck quite a bit in there, but we thought, you know, any little bit could help. So with that polyiso, we just stuck it on the wall with 3M90 spray and used aluminum tape to secure it in place. We used a lot of wood for this project. I know some people try and stay away from that due to weight, but for the most part, and you guys check out the inside, we're pretty minimal with what we built in there. We don't have uppers, cabinets, we don't have like a dividing wall for showers or any of that stuff inside. So I think the weight is still pretty balanced in there. It drives really well. I'm super happy with it. I'm like getting swarmed right now.
Yeah, you are.
For electrical, we kept it pretty minimal. We don't have any solar right now, but we can easily hook up for solar. We have a 100 amp hour Battle-Born lithium ion battery in the back and a 600 watt power inverter coming off of that. The 100 amp hour battery is charged by a 40 amp DC to DC Renogy battery charger. And so what that does is it pulls electrical current from the alternator and starting battery when the ignition's turned on, and it runs electrical currents and charges our house battery in the back. But when the car's turned off, like it is now, it cuts that connection. So we are only pulling electric from our lithium battery in the back, and we're not touching the car battery up front. We used a 12-volt system for the majority of our plugs. We've got some LED lights in the ceiling, and like I said, a 600 watt inverter for any of that 120 electrical. We can just plug in a extension cord and plug bar, plug in our laptops, you know, camera battery chargers. But everything else that we use, all of our iPads or phones, all can be plugged and charged super easily and really quickly using our 12-volt outlets.
So when it came to what we wanted our finished van to look like, we went with a lot of white. Just because it is such a small space, we wanted it to feel as open and bright and airy as we could. And just personally, Jared and I are big white wall people. And so we went ahead and we went with the white walls, white ceiling, and then we ended up painting our cabinets white, as well as having our faux marble laminate countertop from IKEA. So for the floor, we went ahead and went with something lighter and brighter as well. We have the light faux wood laminate flooring. It's interlocking and it is waterproof, so it should be able to hold up with all of the different outdoor activities as well as just the traffic in and out of the van. So when it came to our kitchen space, just like any other van, we don't have a lot of space to work with. And then also we decided that we didn't want to do any upper cabinets because Jared is 6'9", and so we wanted him to have as much overhead headroom as possible. And so all of our kitchen storage is really this wall, this drawer, and under our sink. And so we have our drawer here that just holds all of our plates, bowls, utensils, any of those cooking items. Then we have our cool little magnetic, again, IKEA strip that holds our different, some different cooking utensils as well as our hot pad. Then we have all of our spices, again, a nice little IKEA spice rack. And then the rest of our cooking utensils are underneath our sink. And so we have our gray water and fresh water containers underneath. And then we also have our 2-burner propane stove, as well as our cast iron cookware. We have a little true 2-drawer pull-out Amazon organization system under there where we just keep our propane, our citronella candles, and any other cooking items that we can fit. And then we just got, these are supposed to be for remotes to hold, I guess, different remotes in your living room, but we got them and used them to hold like our lighters, our little marshmallow sticks, as well as our toothbrushes on the side. And then with all of the windy West Virginia roads, we originally had our magnets that were supposed to be extra strength to hold the cabinet shut, but West Virginia roads put that to a test, and so we had to add a little eyelet hooking system, which just goes like that and keeps our doors shut. Then we have our stainless steel sink with a little hold down. We didn't want to use any additional electricity to run our sink and faucet, and so we have a foot pump down here in the bottom, which you just press and it releases the water for us. So for our lights, we have 4 LED puck lights here in the kitchen area, which are controlled by this switch. And then we have a 12-volt outlet here at the kitchen, which we can charge our phones, our laptops. I suppose if you had anything small you wanted to charge in the kitchen, you could do it through there. Then we have 4 LED puck lights over the bed area, which are controlled by this switch down here. And then we have another 12-volt outlet. When it comes to storage, you have to be creative in a van because you don't have a whole lot of space, but I have always loved to organize and I love my containers, and so it was a fun little project for me. And so down here we have our clothes storage. Jared and I each have a little wicker bin that goes inside this container. Then we have more storage in these felt buckets up here, and so we just carry like our socks, any small clothing up there, as well as like our toiletries, and then a miscellaneous catch-all sunscreen, bug spray kind of container up here. Then we have our little hooks that we got off of Amazon that go off of the back of the headrest, and they're really handy, and we use them for maxes, leash and harness, as well as water bottles, really anything. Though those are a great use of storage in a van. Then we have down here a little pantry storage area where we just have our plastic containers from Sam's Club, and any extra food just kind of slides in there. And then we have 2 more little felt bins where we keep like our outdoor essentials like flashlights, toilet paper, and then of course Max has to have his own clothes storage as well. Since we're just using our van for the weekends and short trips, we didn't want to use any additional electricity for things that we didn't have to. And so one of those ways we save on electricity is we use our Gator cooler instead of a fridge. And so we have kept food and ice in here for a few days on end, and by the time we get home our ice packs are still frozen and everything's still nice and cool, and so it's worked out really well for us. So in our bedroom area, we have a 5-inch California King foam mattress. We did have to shave off just a couple of inches with a bread knife to make sure that it fit and that it rounded the corners correctly in the back. So even though our pillows are over here on the side, that's really just so that we can see out the back windows when we're driving. When it comes to sleeping, we do sleep long ways with our heads towards the back of the van. Then we used another IKEA spice rack on our little dividing wall. We decided to put this dividing wall here because Max is very nimble and very adventurous, and so we knew if we didn't have something stopping him that in the middle of the night he'd be back playing in the sink or doing something crazy on our countertops. So our dividing wall, even though it is really functional, it also gave us extra storage space as well. So we have our little spice rack where we keep our little camping journal that Jared's mom gave us, some different activity books like crosswords and Sudoku, and then we have our leather-bound notebook that we're gonna start a sticker collection in and all of the different destinations that we stop. We also have a little sound machine that are supposed to be for babies, but we use it for Max because he thinks every noise outside is something he has to fight personally, and so we have our little sound machine that helps keep him a little bit calmer at night and lets us sleep. Above our bed we have a Max Air fan. And so we have our remote mounted right here that will allow us to open and shut it, as well as change the speed and the direction the air is pulled. And then Jared, being a photographer, we hide his cameras back here so they're in a nice safe spot. With stopping and going, they're in somewhere that's easy to access, but they're not gonna go flying across the van either. Then over on our other wall, we have just a few pictures to try to make it feel more like home. And then we also have an awesome map that a family friend got for us that has all of the different national parks on there, because one of our goals would definitely be to try and see all of the national parks within the continental US at some point using our van. So as you can see, we haven't gone anywhere yet, but as we get going, we'll mark each little national park square off as we get to visit it.
So this build, it took us about, I'd say 3.5-ish months. We bought it in January, started working on it little by little in the wintertime, and we were able to get a ton of work done once the country kind of went on lockdown. Megan and I both got put to work at home orders, and so we'd work, you know, typical like 8 to 4, and then put in like 8 or 9 hours every single day to get this thing done. Interior of this, it's all custom woodwork. Again, that sounds like really fancy. If you get up and close, you'll notice what custom woodwork means. Custom means that we sat down, we traced it out, and we cut it out with like a jigsaw or something. So for all the front-facing cabinets, we used 1/2-inch birch ply. Just gets really smooth, it has a nice little finish on it, and it's pretty sturdy. So we cut out this cabinet here. Again, one of our goals was to hide 8.5-foot long kayaks. And so what we did was, with this cabinet, every space from here back houses the nose of the boats, which you can access from the garage, which I'll show you in a second. So that was kind of like our main thing that we needed. It's a pretty wide cabinet. Countertop's like 24 inches, which is a lot wider than most people go in vans, because again, you want to save as much space as possible. But for us, we wanted to be able to have those kayaks. So that was kind of our main design piece that we put in here. Originally, we had thought about putting our cooler in a spot right here and building a bench out. But once we were working on this project and we got everything kind of framed in, we loved having all this open space, and we just decided, hey, let's cut a hole here. We can slide in the cooler, and if we want a bench, if we want less interior space later on, we can totally build one and attach it to the floor, no problem. What is really nice though about having this open space for the cooler is it allows us, with the way our garage is built, very open back there, we can have all 12 feet completely open. So if we need to run to Lowe's, Home Depot or something, pick up some lumber, we can get some 12-foot long pieces of wood and just have them slide right there where the cooler goes, and we're good to go. For the ceiling of this van, we went as cheap as possible. We got 5mm ply and painted it, attached it to the ceiling, and then used these little trimming pieces to cover up the seams. But when it's painted, Meg did a really good job going over wood filling all the holes where screws were at and painting it. And it looks, I mean, honestly, it looks incredible. It does not look like, you know, 5mm ply, which is like super flimsy and really, really lightweight. For the walls, we got a press board with a faux tongue and groove finish on it. Super lightweight, really easy to flex, really affordable, and it just gives us that nice, light, airy feeling, but a little bit of a texture. One other thing we did with the van, like I mentioned before, the flooring, we did insulation with 1-inch polyiso boards. On top of that, we put 3/4 inch treated ply, and then we have our vinyl flooring. And so here on the edge, what we wanted to do, just add a little bit of durability, is put this stair edge piece, and it gives a really nice finished touch. This is one of the things in a van that's really, really cheap, but it really goes a long way in showing, like, it's a nice touch. It makes it look finished. With our storage here in the back in the garage space, what we really needed was space for our kayaks and space for the mountain bikes. And so with the kayaks, like I showed you guys up in the front, the nose of these boats just kind of gets tucked away in the front of that cabinet. What we did was we built a channel and lined it with waterproof plastic and sealed all the edges. So if any water drips off these after we're done, it's going to end up in that channel and not running off underneath into like the insulation on the flooring, which would be a mess. So these boats just slide in and out, and it's really crazy because, again, the storage space inside this van is only 12 feet long. And so when you have these things like laying beside the van, it's crazy to think that they could fit in there, and when you look at it from the front, you have no idea they're even in here at all. So I'm super proud of how that came together. Meg did a really good job sealing everything off and climbing up in there because I do not fit in that little space. Over here with our mountain bike, I keep my 29er. It's an extra large specialized frame, so it's a really big bike. And a lot of people, when they build bike storage, they go with the front fork mounts and they attach them to the floor. The problem is you have something attached to the floor, so you can't have a box back there and slide it forward. That's why you see a lot of people do like these really expensive sliding drawers, which cost a couple $100. So what we did was we attached some hooks to the bottom of the bed frame, and that allows me to keep my bike off the floor stabilized. But if I take the bike out, the entire storage space is completely open in there. So that was one of the things when we were building the storage space, is we wanted it to be functional, but at the same time, if we ever need to go to the store, if we ever need to go to the hardware store, we can clear things out. We can have a clear shot all the way to the front of the cab, like I was mentioning. We can hold 12, 14-foot pieces of lumber in here, or we can just pull these totes out and have this entire space to put whatever kind of gear, whatever kind of tools, equipment we may need. So with our storage, I mean, we have kayaks, we have bikes, and we have these plastic totes. When my bike's in here, we can only carry one plastic tote. Now it's full of firewood just to keep like twigs and, you know, all that sawdust and stuff in there, not in the rest of the van. But if the bike's out, we can actually fit 2 of these totes in here, which is, I mean, it's a ton of storage. I don't know the exact gallons this thing holds, but it's, I mean, it's a decent sized space. Another thing we have in the back here is we have our drinking water. We have Elevated is a 5-gallon, it's a cold little cooler with a little tap on the bottom. We have 5-gallon fresh water in the front, but that stuff's coming out of plastic jug. It's not filtered water that we put in there. That's just for like utilities and brushing teeth. So back here we keep this iced water, so whenever we stop, we just simply bring a little water jug, fill it up, we're good to go. Underneath that, we have some empty storage space where we keep all of our bungee cords, tie down ropes, all that stuff for if anything is kind of moving around back here. Our water jug is bungee corded in. So going with that idea of keeping the space open, we wanted a space to hold our camp chairs and our camp table and keep them off the floor and off of our totes so they can be stored, so we can also pull all the gear out that we need. So we have these big utility hooks down here again that we attach to the bottom of the bed frame, and that allows us to set camp chairs, camp table, even Max's little camp chair. And they sit back there in place, and we can pull out totes, we can pull bikes out, all that stuff without having to pull everything out. Because when you're working in a van, when you're staying in it, camping in it, you're gonna want to get your gear out. And when you get the gear out, you want it to be as least effort as possible. You don't want to have to pull everything out, stack it up, get what you need, and then stack it all back in there. So those hook systems really allows us to get gear out quick, put it back where it came from. Another thing with the garage space is we didn't want to waste the space. We wanted it to all be easy to utilize. So here on the door, on this passenger or driver's side door, I guess, we installed some pegboard here, which just has these little easy to attach hooks. And this gives us simple organization for all of our like camping tools that we need. We have a little broom to sweep it out. We have a hammock. We have our camp lantern. We have our shovel, little axe, anything we need. And we have more of these hooks. I'm really, really happy with how it works because again, it allows you just to kind of organize as you go and set what you need where you need. One other quick thing back here. I know if you guys are paying attention, you're like, where's the bathroom? Where's the shower? Well, as we mentioned, this is a weekend primary van, just quick weekend trips. So for our bathroom, we have tucked up here in the front, we have a little bucket toilet, which is like not the greatest, but in case of emergencies, we have it there. So, golly, dude. So for our shower, I bought a 3-gallon chemical sprayer off Amazon. Brand new, no chemicals in it. It's one of those things that's got a hand pump in it. You usually use it to like spray weed killer on your yard. But we fitted it with a quick release, it's got a little bit of leftover water, quick release hose, so we can pump up water pressure in there and then quickly attach our little sprayer, and boom, we got a shower on the go. Another thing that I'm super proud of in this build is we wanted to have a space to cook from. with our little two-top burner without always having to set up our camp table. And so what I did was I kind of looked at a couple different ideas on YouTube, on some forums, and I came up with this idea for a little folding collapsible table. So what we have is it's all hooked in so it doesn't open up when we're driving, but you extend this, drop this down, and we have a little table big enough to put any kind of gear we need on it, but primarily it fits my little two-top stove burner. So we can cook outside, have smoke and everything going up and away from the van. Overall, super happy with it. I think it's a really efficient use of the space. Yeah. For the exterior, we left it pretty stock. We had a couple small changes on it. First is I plastic dipped the wheels black. I'm a big fan of black wheels, and I think it kind of just elevates the look of this van, changes it from being just like strictly a cargo van, kind of gives it a nice little touch. Another thing that we did is all of the white paint that is underneath where these plastic pieces are, we sanded it down, we taped it off, and then we sprayed it down with a truck bed liner. So all of these edges down here on the bottom are coated in that liner, and what it does is it's just got a little bit of a rugged finish. It's scratch resistant and a little more like impact durable if rocks and stuff kind of pop up at it. So that's it. That's the van build. Max is getting a little anxious here. I'll try and make some videos covering any of the stuff that we may have skipped over, but yeah, if anything, you know, I just want it to be shown that with a can-do attitude and some pawn shop tools, you can make something kind of cool. But no, we're super proud of this build. It was something that was, you know, multiple months in the making with saving up and then actually crafting it out. But yeah, that's all we got, and hopefully we will see you guys out on the road. Working on the van, finishing putting in insulation, and just had 3 police cars come rolling up on me super fast. Apparently someone just put a call in, said that I was making meth in the back of my van, mixing up chemicals because I had my mask on.